Okay, this is my third time filming this video. The third time. I hope to God the third time is the charm, because this is getting out of hand. This is ridiculous. My last video, the same one that I filmed previously, my husband did all the editing. It took him a month to figure it out, because we're both new to this kind of stuff. It took him a month to edit it. I watched it. I mean, it was okay, but I wasn't completely happy with it, so just gonna start from scratch. But swear to God, if it's the death of me, I'm getting this video out. Even if it's crap, I don't even care at this point. I don't care. I just need to get it on YouTube, get it out there, and do the damn thing. Okay, so with all that being said, what's up, YouTube? It's your girl here, Lynzy Morbid. This is my channel where we're going to be talking about everything true crime, spooky, paranormal, morbid, as the name suggests. If you are new here, that's great. I am too. This is actually my first video. Well, fourth, if you include the past 3 that I've already done that I've deleted, but this is the first one that's actually going out. If you're seeing this, that means I finally did it. I finally made the video and was happy enough with it, or just so frustrated that I just didn't even care anymore. If you like this kind of content where we do ghost stories and ghost hunting and true crime storytelling, that kind of thing, subscribe, hit that like button, hit the share, notification bell, all that good stuff. And with all that, let's get into today's video. Okay. So the guy that we're talking about today, his name is Billy Cook. His name that he was born with was William Cook Jr. His father was William Cook Sr. But he's a junior, and he went mostly by Billy Cook. He also had a nickname of Cockeyed Cook. I think that's kind of rude and degrading, so I'm not going to call him that. I know, he's certainly not a good guy, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse. The guy is dead now. Anyway, so Billy Cook. He was born in December in 1929 in Joplin, Missouri. That whole general area, Joplin, is pretty well known for American crime back in that time. In the early to mid 1900s, you had Bonnie and Clyde, for example. I know all of you guys know who Bonnie and Clyde is. Their hideout is in Joplin. It's not that far from me, where I'm at. I've been there, I've seen it. I am going to do a video on them. A lot of people obviously have, everybody knows who they are. But I have a pretty cool and unique idea, I think, that that you guys would enjoy. So just keep a lookout for whenever I do that video. I don't have a time that I'm going to do it. I just have an idea in my head. Okay, so Billy didn't have a great start to life, as with most serial killers and spree killers and things of that nature. They usually don't have good home lives. His father was a miner, also said to be an alcoholic. His mother passed away when he was very young. He was 5 years old when his mother passed. He had 7 other siblings. And shortly after his mom had passed, his father had all these children and had to take care of them on his own. Apparently, he felt like he couldn't, so he just abandoned them in a mine shaft and just left these kids there to fend for themselves. They did the best that they could. They all survived, thankfully. The authorities ended up finding them. Everybody got foster homes except for Billy. But the reasoning is he had a very bad attitude. He was rude. He was mean. And he had an eye deformity. Times were different back then. You know, people, I guess, just didn't want to take in somebody that needed extra care, extra attention, or whatever the case may be. They just didn't. So he didn't get into a foster home. By the age of 10, he was just a ward of the state, was bounced around doing whatever he was doing. I don't know what, but he was surviving. And by the time he was 12, he had visited reform school several times. He was in and out of reform school. He also turned to a life of petty crime. He was doing larceny and, shoplifting and things of that nature. Following down that road that he was going down, he did end up in Missouri State Penitentiary, which, quick side note, Missouri State Penitentiary is in Jefferson City. It's like probably 3 hours away from me, where I'm at. I also live in Missouri. And I was thinking it would be cool, unrelated to Billy Cook, but to drive out there and get tickets. It's a tourist attraction now, so if you wanted to do this, you could. You could just go there, get tickets, spend the day there, go on a tour, whatever. So I was planning on doing that, vlogging it, and experiencing it for myself, how it would be out there. I thought that would be really cool, and it's just not... That's my kid. That's my daughter screaming. I'm sorry if you can hear. But anyway, I thought it would be a cool day trip to do that. I thought it would be cool content and it would be a cool experience, and I'm down with that. But anyway, so back to Billy, right? So Billy met his release out of Missouri State Penitentiary in 1950. He was 21. He went back to see his dad, his estranged father that abandoned him and his siblings in a mine shaft, and had a conversation with him. He was noted saying that his ambition now is to live by the gun and roam. With that being said, that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. He started roaming. He started hitchhiking. He hitchhiked from Missouri all the way west to California, all the way, well, not all the way, but east again towards Texas. He never went past Missouri east-wise. Like, he never went to like the East Coast or anything. He just kind of was like Missouri, California, Missouri, California, Missouri, California. But he went to California and then back to Texas again. And he found himself in Lubbock in late December. I was gonna say that it was probably cold hitchhiking out there, but actually I lived in Texas before. I've been to Lubbock, and it's not cold. And it's not usually cold in December. It's probably like 70 degrees, so I guess really he'd be fine. But anyway, he was hitchhiking in Lubbock, Texas, when a local auto mechanic had stopped to pick him up. His name was Lee Arthur. He was just a good Samaritan. He stopped, picked up Billy to like help him out, you know, whatever. And Billy brought out his gun and put it to Lee Arthur's head and forced him into the trunk of his own car. So he obliged. He got in the trunk and Billy drove off. Well, luckily for Mr. Arthur, he had a tire iron in his truck, and he just pried the trunk open completely and just hopped out. He hopped out of a moving vehicle. He got on his feet, just started running and booking it, running, and he got away, and he survived. And he was one of the lucky few that had survived an encounter with Billy Cook. So the next victim of his was not going to be so lucky. He was again hitchhiking. He abandoned Mr. Arthur's car. You'll see here in a minute that that's just kind of his like MO or whatever. That's what he does. He kidnaps people and then dumps the car and then like hitchhikes again. Like, why wouldn't you keep the car? I guess because the police, who knows? I don't know. But anyway, he was hitchhiking again. The Musser family they were en route to New Mexico. It was Carl and Thelma Musser was the mom and the dad. And there was Gary Musser, Robert Musser, and Pamela Musser. They were all the 3 children. They also had a family dog with them. They spot Billy Cook hitchhiking. They see him. They pull over to try to help him out. Well, Billy gets in the car and has a gun. Not the same gun. It is not the same gun that was used on Lee Arthur, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it's a new gun, and he puts it to his head and tells him to drive aimlessly. So, I mean, you know, what else are they going to do? That's their only option when there's a gun to your head telling you to drive aimlessly. There's not a whole lot else that you could do. There was no cell phones in this time. It was 1950 at this point. Like, so that's just what they did. They drove around, and they drove around for 72 hours on a road trip from freaking hell. And they did what he asked them to do. So they were just driving. They get close to his hometown of Joplin, and he just decides that that was enough, and he shoots and kills all of them, including the dog, the children, everybody. He shot everybody, and he dumped their bodies in a nearby mine shaft. Here's the thing, though. That mine shaft is the same mine shaft that his father dumped him and his siblings in. And this mine shaft is no longer there, obviously, but it's located in a place called Schiffendecker Park in Joplin, Missouri. I don't live that far from there. I've been there. It's a park, like an actual park now for like children, which is kind of, weird. But I mean, people have died everywhere. You can't just stop life or stop building things because somebody's died there. Like, people have died everywhere. So, I mean, I guess it's not that weird, but I don't know. I thought it was strange. But anyway, that is totally besides the point. So he takes this car into Oklahoma. He goes to Tulsa and he dumps it there. And here's the thing. The car was filled with blood, right? There was blood stains everywhere. There was bullet holes, bullet casings, all this stuff. I'm sorry. This isn't funny. I'm sorry I'm laughing. But the most important piece of evidence that they pulled out of that car was none of that. It was a receipt for the new gun Billy just bought that he shot these people with. Like I told you when, he had a new gun. Well, this is the gun. He had the receipt. He left it in the car. So obviously, the police find this. They see the receipt. They make a phone call to the gun store and like, hey, this gun has been a part of a murder. Can you like run this number or look up this receipt or whatever? They got you, Billy. They got your name. Like, he's just dumb criminal, man. And not all criminals are dumb, but this one definitely is. But regardless, they have his name now. Okay, so Billy keeps hitchhiking after he dumps the car in Tulsa. Since he doesn't go any further east. We already went through that. He doesn't go any further east. So he goes back west towards California. He makes it into California in a town called Blythe, where a deputy named Michael Waldrip, Billy caught his attention. Later, this attention turned into suspicion. And Deputy Michael Waldrip wanted to get more information on this guy because he was looking sketch or whatever. So he gets in contact with one of, well, probably the only friend that Billy has, and is like, hey, I see this guy, can you answer some questions for me, whatever. So the friend is like, oh yeah, sure, man, like, come on over, this is my motel room number, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. This is all speculation. There was no like recorded conversation, but this is how I'm guessing it went down. But anyway, so he's like telling the cop, oh yeah, sure, come on over, I'll tell you whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. whatever. So the deputy Waldrip gets in his car, goes to this motel, he's knocking up on the door, and he doesn't even make it a step into the door before he's met with old Billy Boy. Billy disarms him, grabs his waistband, takes the gun off of his waistband, and gets his own gun, puts it to his head. And he forces him into his police car now, and makes him drive aimlessly, as per his M.O. So they're driving. Billy's telling Deputy Waldrip all this stuff about what he did to the Musser family. He was bragging. He was feeding that ego of his. He was being a freaking weirdo, because that's what he is. And just bragging to Deputy Waldrip about all these horrific things that he did to this family. Well, Billy decides to let Deputy Waldrip go. They drove 40 miles. After that 40 miles, they stopped the car. Billy tied his hands behind his back like this, put a gun to his head, walked him over to the ditch, and was like, go on, go, get out of here, whatever. So when he was asked why he let Deputy Waldrip go, apparently the last time that he was in California, he had worked with Deputy Waldrip's wife in Blythe the last time he was there, when he was doing like odd jobs and stuff. He worked with his wife, and he said that his wife was just nice to him, was the only person that has ever been nice to him or treated him like a human being or showed him any respect. Which, I might get dragged for this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my opinion. I feel like all of this stuff could have been avoided. All of his crimes that he committed could have been avoided had somebody just reached out a hand to him to help him or like show him any kind of love. I just feel like, you know, no killer's childhood is a good one. I don't think any of us have ever heard of I don't think we've heard of anybody that has done very heinous things that grew up in a loving, nurturing environment. So I just feel like it could have been prevented. And in that sense, I feel bad for him. I guess not so much bad as, I don't know. I just feel like it just could have been prevented had he been born with a chance, because he was born without one. And it's really sad when that kind of stuff happens. And then they grow up to do stuff like this. And, you know, I just feel like the system failed him. His family failed him. He didn't have really any friends, and he just got into the wrong thing. He was also noted saying that everybody hates him and he hates everybody, and he just, I don't know, I don't think he ever felt love in his life. But regardless of my opinion on that, you can't go around killing people, man. Regardless of what you've have been through in your life or anything like that, you can't take that out on other people that it wasn't their fault. They had nothing to do with anything that you went through. So, I don't know. I guess that was just my 2 cents on that. But anyway, so he lets Deputy Waldrop walk. He lets him go. Whatever. So, now at this point, he knows that he's in trouble. So Billy let him go at the end of the day. Right? So, he's good. Now, at this point, things get muddy. Like, some articles are saying that he still had the police vehicle when he committed this next crime. Some people said that he was hitchhiking again. I'm almost willing to put money on he was probably hitchhiking again, because that is what he does. I don't think that he picked up his next victim in a cop car. Maybe he did, because maybe that's inconspicuous, but it's really not, because the cops would know that because you kidnapped a cop. So he's probably gonna, you know, rat you out for that, you know, and call that in. So he's probably hitchhiking again. But regardless, he picks up a guy named Robert Dewey. There's not a whole lot that was said about him. All of it, the article said that he was from Seattle and he was a salesman. That's all I could find. Doesn't mean that's all that's out there, but that's all I could find. It said that he tried to fight Billy and lost. Billy overpowered him and shot him in the back of the head. Any which way you look at it, he was the next victim and he died. And Billy just abandoned him and the car. He threw him in a ditch, abandoned the car. Again, MO, right? So after all of this takes place, he has to come up with a plan at this point, because he's got a body count of 6 and a dog, and he's kidnapped 2 people, one being a police officer. So what does he do? What do you think he does? Take a guess of what he does. He goes to Mexico, kidnaps 2 more people, Mr. Burke and Mr. Dameron. They were gold prospectors. He kidnaps them and has them take him across the border, which they made it across the border undetected. Undetected. So, I'm having a really hard time speaking today. I'm not sure why, but they made it across the border undetected. They make it all the way to Santa Rosalia, where the chief of police there actually recognized him from FBI posters and whatnot. And the chief of police is an OG, man. He just walked straight up to Billy like it ain't nothing and just snatched his gun right off of him and disarmed him. Kind of like he did to the deputy, so that's kind of funny how it, you know, went full circle there. But anyway, I'm not sure if Billy was thinking they don't extradite or whatever, but they do. They did then. They do now. Going to Mexico is not the place. If you're trying to escape extradition, maybe Argentina or something, I don't know. But I know Mexico, they do. They absolutely do. And they did back then too. So they arrested him, took him to Tijuana, and extradited him back to the US of A, baby, where the judicial system do not play. And play, they did not. Because he went to Oklahoma and he was convicted of all 5 murders. He was sentenced to 50 years per murder, which gave him 300 years in prison. Then he still has to go to trial in California, where he is, again, he is convicted of murder of Robert Dewey and given the death penalty. Which again is a little ironic because California would be more lenient, you know, so I would think they would give him the 50 years or whatever, and then Oklahoma would have given him the death penalty, given it's a whole family, but regardless, either way, he's gonna die, right? So they give him the death penalty. He is to die from asphyxiation in the gas chamber of San Quentin, the little green room. I don't know if you know that reference or not, but that's what they call the gas chamber in San Quentin. And that he did, and he passed away. Now, given the heinousness of his crimes, his body was sent back to Joplin where he was born. Nobody claimed it, nobody wanted it, nobody wanted any part of it because of what he had done. So they buried him in an unmarked grave in a place called Peace Church Cemetery. There is a legend now surrounding this guy that if you go there late at night, people have said that they still see him hitchhiking. So, the part 2 to this video is me going there and taking my spirit boxes and my voice recorders and grid lights and all that stuff we're going to set up out there. We're going to reach out, see if we can get Billy, see what we get if anything, see if we can see anybody hitchhiking. I have seen some weird stuff over there before. Not too long ago, after I heard about this story, I was over there in that cemetery. I was driving back and I saw a guy cross the road, so I slowed down. Now this is like 2 or 3 in the morning. I had just left the graveyard. I saw a guy walking across the street, so I slowed down, and then he walked into a ditch, and so I look over in the ditch and there was nobody there. And I couldn't make out any features or anything. It was just black, just a guy, you know, but I figured either I just couldn't see him because it was dark and he was wearing all black, or maybe I ran into Billy. He wasn't hitchhiking though, so I'm not really sure. But anyway, stay tuned for that because I am going to go there tonight. That's going to be a part 2 because this video is already getting kind of long. But yeah, just keep a lookout for that, and I will see you then.